Hey guys, so I've been trying out something pretty cool and fun lately, and it's time to make a comeback with the BT4 Anubismon. And what if I told you guys that the Gizmon package is not only just made for Belphemon, and you can actually play it in something else as well. And yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, so starting off with the Digi-Egg cards, 4 copies of Sunamon from BT6 in particular. Pretty cool to see this Digi-Egg to make a comeback once again. It's mainly used to help you draw more cards when you trash to synergize with your trashing cards from hand combos, which is pretty much your main core combo and the goal of the entire deck mainly. And 4 copies is really all you need for this deck. You can run a 5th egg, but I don't know what to run at the moment, so let's just go with the 4. So doing something a little bit unusual, rather than just going straight into rookies, let's just talk about the Gizmon package in particular. First and foremost, the 4 copies of Proto Gizmon. It is, core to your engine with its on-play effect. Draw 1, trash 1. When it's deleted, cycle 2 Gizmons back from your trash in order to play the next one, where I guess it's almost like Digivolving, where you then have the 4 copies of Gizmon AT. Also really important core card because it lets you draw 2 and trash 2, and you just want to keep doing these and repeating these combos as much as you can. And then with its last effect when it's undeleted, very similar to Proto Gizmon, by cycling 2 back from your trash to the bottom of your deck, this is when you can bring out the Gizmon XT. Now, Gizmon XT itself is a blocker. It lets you play Akihiro, but we don't play any Akihiros in this deck in particular because we're not playing Belphemon in particular, like I said. So we're really trying to utilize its cycling capabilities over and over again to play the Gizmons from the trash again and again. That's really the entire overall goal. With its on deletion, you also get to play the Proto Gizmon back and continuing the same combo and looping it again, which is going to be really important. I'll show you guys later in the combo segment when we talk about it too. So now let's begin with our actual level 3 rookies. 4 copies of Ignitemon right here. Ignitemon is just really good for helping you delete stuff if you ever need to use it, which is great. But also mainly with its inheritable is that you gain a memory every time you play a Digimon via an effect, and you're actually going to be using that a lot. So being able to gain that 1 memory, even if it's just once per turn, is what I like to call ultra value. But then that's it. That's all the rookies we're running. I do want to run a few more, but I've been trying to find room in slots. It's been kind of difficult overall for this deck. So we're just going to jump straight into our level 4s now with 3 copies of Ginkakumon in particular. Now, we don't play the Ginkakumon package, so we're only really utilizing it for its inheritable, where it's your turn once per turn. When you trash a card from your hand, you have to gain a memory. That's really all it's there for. Once again, like I mentioned, we draw and trash cards a lot in this particular deck. And speaking of which, it only makes sense to play the traditional Eismon and Eismon Scatter Mode package because they help you draw cards, trash cards. That's really the whole idea of it. That's it for level 4s. Now let's talk about our level 5s. 4 copies of this Blue Miramon right here. This is essentially like the new version of Lady Devimon because with its when Digivolving effect, you can draw 2 and trash 2. You draw 1 for when Digivolving itself as well. So essentially you're drawing 3 cards and trashing 2. Itself has retaliation. Other than that, with its inheritable all turns, when you play a Digimon via an effect, you also gain a memory back. It's gonna help you again, bridge again with into your combos, so then you can go for bigger plays. Now that's it for our level 5s essentially. Let's talk about our level 6s. There is the 4 copies of Anubismon from BT4. Really cool to see this make a comeback into the game. Really cool to see the utilization and potentially of the loop combo to make as many attacks as you really can. Mainly what it does is for the 3 costs, it only has 10,000 DP, which is totally okay, but the most important thing is with its when Digivolving, you can play a level 3 or lower Digimon back from your trash for free. Now with its secondary effect is that your turn, when you play a Digimon back from the trash, that Digimon gains Rush. So the main core thing is that this is not even once per turn. So meaning that you're going to be looping this again and again and again, like I mentioned throughout the entire video, to make your infinite attacks and your non-stop barrage of swings. So that's it for the main core level 6 of your deck. Then we got the 4 copies of Nidhoggmon, where Nidhoggmon has 2 utilities to it. First and foremost is that when you trash this card from your hand, you have to gain a memory. It's kind of a really cool pseudo like almost hand trap because you have a lot of on deletion, draw, and trash cards effects. You can really catch your opponent off guard with this particular guy. Not only that, it does have the when Digivolving effect, being able to delete something that is level 4 or lower by trashing 1 card from your hand as well with its when Digivolving, but you really want to use that. You want to use it as potential to gain more memory, which is almost like a hammer spark for the deck, which is, again, 4 copies is really nice. You want to be able to see it as often as you can so you can really go for those big combos. But that's basically it for all the Digimon, and let's now talk about the Tamers. Tamer, all we run is 2 copies of Mimi, the 2 cost one from BT3. We play a lot of options in this deck actually. So having her in particular so that we can suspend to gain the memory back is what gives us the return value when we go for those combo plays, which is actually really crucial. But with that being said, let's just go and move into the options. 3 copies of Missed Memory Boost. I might even argue try to, fit an extra one just because of how important it is, especially in the early stages of the game. Helping you set up more cards in trash, being able to draw, gaining that memory to make your big combo plays is really what you need in this particular deck overall. Now for the other option card, we got 4 copies of Underworld's Call. Now again, very similar to Nidhoggmon, it does 2 things. First is that when this card is trashed from your hand, you get to draw an extra card. So helping you cycle more cards and go through your deck and thin it out as you go in the early stages of the game that's what it's really all about. Secondly, it actually has a 4 cost main effect. By paying the 4 memory, you get to play a level 4 Digimon back from your trash for free. And by doing so, that's how you kind of bridge into your level 5s and 6s and continue in sort of like giving another alternative way to get into your combos, which is really good. And speaking of like playing more Digimon back from the trash, one Night Raid is really good right here. Just for the 2 costs, you can play a purple level 3 Digimon back from your trash, but it doesn't get any on play effects whatsoever. However, you guys can see for the 2 costs that you can combo with Anubismon very nicely, play stuff back from trash, rush and attack. That's really what this main tech card is for. Then for some of the 1 cost option cards, we got Deathclaw right here. Deathclaw deletes one of your own Digimon to delete your opponent's level 4 Digimon. Great for getting like rid of blockers and any small things. Sometimes you can even clear board with it, but mainly is to help to delete your own stuff when they don't delete themselves, when you're trying to swing security or whatnot, and your opponent's not letting you use your on deletion effects, which is why then you really want to be using cards like these. Another one, exact same, very similar, is Demonic Disaster. This actually potentially gives you an extra swing, an extra attack. And just for the 1 memory cost again is ultra value. Then with its security effect, it lets you actually play a level 3 back from your trash as well. So, really good, but no on play effects, keep in mind. So that's really what this card is all there for. And then last but not least, of course, as per usual, since it is a purple deck, one of the best purple staples to include is Calling from Darkness, and 1 copy is really all you need. So that's the 50 card main deck, but of course, as per usual, it wouldn't be an AVAULT video if I weren't to include any additional options of other cards you guys can be playing. So let's quickly showcase and talk about those as well. First is actually Tapermon and Labramon. I did mention that, I did want a little bit more rookies. You do brick on rookies quite a lot in this deck just because of that fact that we are playing very little rookies. So these are some of my options that I would sort of add in. At the moment, like I mentioned, I'm not too entirely sure what to take out. Deathixmon is a really good card to also have. Just a very generic, nice staple against certain matchups. Wide boards, you get to play it with lesser cost. Getting rid of stuff, wiping stuff as well at the same time, forcing your opponents to delete things is always why it's going to be a really good card. After all, it is a purple deck, so it can come in really handy sometimes. And speaking of other tamers you guys can be playing, of course, there's the Memory Mat Ishida, Mat helping you grab certain back Digimons from the trash, certain options that you want to see as well. In the later stages game, it's just super helpful when it comes to that stage as well. Then the other mat we have is the 2 cost mat from Started at 6. This one is when one of your Digimon's deleted, you get to spend it and basically gain a memory back. Doesn't happen as often, but it's kind of nice to have in some specific niche scenarios, especially when you play the 1 cost options to delete your own things. Very similar to Mimi, but overall I think just Mimi is just better because you play so many different options and Mimi covers all of them. And that's the reason why, Mat is also kind of considerable if you want to fit more tamers. And then there's also Death the Cannon, which is another option, which is more for removal utility in terms of like controlling. Really good, sometimes you don't really have a lot of defense in this deck. It's really all about offense and comboing. Therefore, if you want to have something to counter, especially when it comes to security, Death the Cannon is actually a really, really good option to actually have. And yeah. All right, combos. Let's start off with the cards you want to be seeing when you sort of go for your starting hand and mulligan. Cards you really want to be finding is, of course, like your rookies, but most importantly are cards that help you draw and trash. Draw and trash is, like I mentioned, the main core idea on the whole concept, just like most purple decks, which is not very new in most cases. So speaking of which, what you want to be finding is the Proto Gizmons, the Gizmons and whatnot, so that you can, go and play them as much as you can, drawing trash and cards like I mentioned, scatter mode, whatnot, Missed Memory Boost. So with that being said, with Ignitemon, you always hatch your egg and then you digivolve into Ignitemon and you play any of these cards in the early stages of the game. When it comes to Eismon scatter mode, you might actually want to be hard playing this rather than digivolving, just because you're not really getting the full value when you digivolve into on top of Ignitemon to gain some of the stacks and inheritables. You want to save that for other later cards when you're actually building your Anubismon stack and you don't want it to be deleted. But with that being said, you know, using Gizmon Scatter Mode to swing as much as you can is what your whole goal is. When it comes to playing Proto Gizmon, you want to be careful where you're sort of interchangeably between Digivolving Ignite-mon as well, just because you do want to be deleting an egg to reduce its cost all the way down to 1. Otherwise, sometimes it's actually not too bad to play around the memory gauge and just hard play it for the 3 costs instead if you really need to. And then eventually going into the AT is what you're trying to go for. The main priority is that you're trying to cycle and trash as many of these Gizmon's cards as possible into your trash. Underworld's Call is always a really nice card to trash in the early stages because it gives you the draw power you need. Otherwise, hard playing it is also great so then you can play level 4s, which I'll mention a bit more later on. Nidhogg, you want to save it when you're really going for those big combo plays, but in the early stages of the game, you sometimes don't really get a choice. So again, playing the memory game is really important because you do see your Nidhoggs quite often enough to help you gain memory, and then you can maneuver around and play more cards that way. Now, moving into the Anubismon combo, which is the most important part, there's actually a couple of key main ways you can get into it. Well, the first most traditional way and more ideal way is to Digivolve to your Genkakumon and build your stack and go through with that, and then eventually Digivolve into your Blue Mirrormon in the battle area so you can utilize its drawing cards potentially and trashing more cards. Now with trashing more cards, Genkaku's gonna give you a memory back with its Inheritable, and Tsunomon's gonna let you draw a card as well. And then when you eventually go into Anubismon right here for the cost of whatsoever, Anubismon is going to let you play cards back from your trash, specifically a level 3, so you can actually play the Proto Gizmon ideally, because once you're set up, you get to also gain the memory through Blue Mirrormon and Ignite-mon as well, because you play Brining effect. Now you're all set up. You can pop the memory boost as well, making sure you have extra memory depending on the matchup and all that kind of stuff. Now it may seem kind of suboptimal to build this stack, as in terms of it's not super consistent as it should be, but that's okay because throughout the course of the game, you're not trying to get into your stack as soon as possible. Getting into soon is good, but you draw and find your pieces as you go, and that's the whole game plan overall. And when you do find your pieces, that's when you go into the stack and Digivolve like this, which happens quite a lot. But otherwise, if you don't get that option, Digivolving your Blue Mirrormon on top of your Scattered Mode is the other way to go, and then going your Anubismon just like that. And then the other final way to actually also go through is if you ever have Gizmon here, and then you have like Scattered Mode in your trash, you get to play it, let it sit on the board a little bit, and then eventually you Digivolve your level 5 on top there. There's actually one more key way, Underworld's Call. That's the whole reason why we play this card as well, but for the 4 cost, it does cost a little bit more, so you can play a level 4, sit there on the board a little bit, wait a little bit, and then again do the same thing, Digivolve the 5 and 6 and go like that. But anyways, let's go back to here where you have your Anubismon and your Gizmon setup right here. Anubismon immediately is going to give the Proto Gizmon rush. So all you have to do is just swing with it. And you know, with it being deleted, it's always what you want to go for, because once it's deleted, by cycling itself alongside with another card, that's Gizmon as well, back to the bottom of your deck, you get to play AT. AT here will draw 2, trash 2, and continue in the combo. And because it is played back from the trash, you get to gain rush with Anubismon's effect and go ahead and swing again. Now Gizmon AT gets deleted, you do the same thing, shuffle it back with another Gizmon there, so then you can play Gizmon XT. Now Gizmon XT has the flexibility of having a 9k blocker if you ever need to go for defensive plays to stop your opponents from attacking, but otherwise if you can continue with the infinite swing combo and go for aggressive plays, go ahead and just attack and swing just like that. Now Gizmon XT is going to be quite likely for it to survive more so than the other Digimon that you have, and this is why having these 1 cost options for self-deletion and repeating these combos are just going to be really helpful and important for you to delete your Gizmon XT so that you can continue to do the same, where Gizmon XT when it's deleted, it lets you play a Proto Gizmon back from your trash. So, and then you get to loop the combos again and again and again. Really important. This is why having Mimi is just really nice, because it lets you play those options for free. Demonic Disaster for extra swings, Deathclaw to surprise delete, Calling to grab more stuff back from trash and continue and whatnot. And that's basically it for the sort of like infinite barrage of attacks of combos. If you can loop this over and over again, you can just suddenly make a ton of attacks in one turn. Your opponent won't see it coming at all. And after all, with Anubismon, you never really want to attack with it unless you're actually going to go for the game finishing play, because of its 10,000 DP. But the coolest thing is all of these combos which I talked about can be seen in action by watching this gameplay video which we made right here. Whether if you are new to the Digimon card game or just enjoy the card game in general, there's tons of really cool videos and information about all the different kinds of decks for you guys. So definitely be sure to check that out. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video. And this is AVAULT signing out.